Greetings, family. Welcome to Lula Misela, the podcast. My name is Sitabile Coleman. I'm the content curator and the host of our channel. And today's episode, I think we're still under the topic of leadership, but today my heart is just filled with gratitude. I think it's from the scriptures that I'm reading yesterday, and my heart is just overwhelmed with gratitude and ukumbonga nje uNkulunkulu. And from the scriptures that I read yesterday, I read the book of Deuteronomy chapter 16 verse 13 to verse 17, and here it speaks about the feast of the booths, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just have a look. It's the feast of the booths, or the feast of the tabernacles. So it's just us having that posture or positioning our hearts to be grateful before the sight of the Lord, or before uNkulunkulu. Ilokho nje nginakho kakhulu enhlizweni yami ukumbonga uNkulunkulu. So I believe when we speak about any form of feast, it is a time of rejoicing and thanksgiving and gladness and joy that God has released or commanded a people to experience, and that set time frame. Because I believe the feast of tabernacle and the other feasts that are mentioned throughout the scriptures, for them to partake in these feasts. And I believe uNkulunkulu also places seasons for a person or a people to experience joy or to experience rejoicing. Sometimes there aren't tangible reasons why people are called to a place of thanksgiving and joy as well, but there is a great command uNkulunkulu has also revealed through the scriptures for us to have a heart of thanksgiving. I believe that the New Testament also makes reference to this idea in terms of us having a grateful heart as well. So ngicabanga ukuthi nje kubaluleke kakhulu ukuthi nathi sibe naleyo attitude when it comes to walking with Christ, ukuthi sibe nayo inhliziyo ebongayo. So I'm going to read the book of Deuteronomy chapter 16, as I did mention. I'm going to read verse 13 up to verse 17, which reads as follows: You shall observe the feast of the tabernacles or booths for 7 days after you have gathered in from your threshing floor and wine vat. You shall rejoice in your feast, you, your son and daughter, your manservant and maidservant, the Levite, the transient and the stranger, the fatherless and the widow who are within your towns. For 7 days you shall keep a solemn feast to the Lord your God in the place which the Lord chooses, because the Lord your God will bless you in all your produce and in all the works of your hands, so that you will be altogether joyful. 3 times a year shall all your males appear before the Lord before the Lord your God in the place which he chooses, and at the feast of unleavened bread, at the feast of weeks, and at the feast of the tabernacles or booths. They shall not appear before the Lord empty-handed. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of the Lord your God, which he has given to you. I'm just going to repeat the verses and then give you guys what is being posed in my heart. Then after I've given you guys an idea of the referencing of the scriptures we're looking at namhlanje, then I'll just read other scriptures that I was meditating upon, like today when I just reread the scriptures that I'm quoting. So verse 13 says, You shall observe the feast of the tabernacles or booths for 7 days after you've gathered in from your threshing floor and wine vat. So from verse 13, what's just being impressed in my heart, there's a season where uNkulunkulu takes you through a season of darkness and crushing, because the threshing floor is a place where grain will be crushed. And I believe uNkulunkulu is just emphasizing that season, what you've gathered from that season of being crushed, you must bring it back to uNkulunkulu. So that is just what is being emphasized in Tlizunyamuti, that season of being crushed. It was a season that was necessary for you to undergo, and the season that you're now tapping into is requiring from you to present to uNkulunkulu that which you had gathered from that season of crushing. So uNkulunkulu is just emphasizing that season of crushing was necessary, and he's now taking you to a season where you are rejoicing and you're going to be celebrating, and as a result you need to also take out what you had learned or had encountered, all the revelations or the life lessons that you had to encounter in the threshing floor, and bring it back to uNkulunkulu and allow God to use that crushing season to bring some sort of rejoicing out of that. So a byproduct of you having been crushed through a particular season is you being able to rejoice and praise God in the following season that precedes that season. So verse 14 says, You shall rejoice in your feast, you, your servant and daughter, your maidservant and maidservant, the Levites, the transient and stranger, the fatherless and the widow who are within your towns. So here it's touching on our children. So your sons and daughters also will bear the benefits of rejoicing through the crushing season that you went through. So the crushing season is not only for you or for your betterment, but also the children coming after you or your descendants also will bear the fruits of you having undergone that season of crushing as well. So that's just being impressed in my heart right now, Uti. Even my children as well will also receive the gift of joy or experience joy through me having undergone that season of crushing and me having relied on Nkulunkulu through that season and also having rejoiced when Nkulunkulu had taken me out of that season to the following season. So that is what is being emphasized. Even my children um are going to benefit from that crushing season that I went through or that you went through as an individual. You can personalize it to yourself. Then verse 14 also touched on how you shall rejoice with your manservant and maidservant as well. So this is just emphasizing as well, Wuti, even Labantu that you are responsible for or who are under your leadership rather, Wuti, they need to also be part and parcel of the journey of you celebrating where Nkulunkulu had taken you through. So the people that God had entrusted in Zandin Sako, their souls, they also need to be part and parcel of the season of you celebrating as well, so that they can also bear testimony of you having endured through the crushing season and now getting to a place where you're now celebrating that you all actually didn't lose hope and trust in Nkulunkulu, but now you are experiencing the benefits of you having stayed under the pressure of being crushed in a particular season. And then it also touches on the fatherless and the widow who are within your town. So there are people who are vulnerable that have seen you undergo a season of crushing. And I believe we would see quite born in them witnessing God taking you out of that season of crushing to a place where He's now allowing a time of rejoicing to be endowed upon you. Ukuthi kwayibona, they are encouraged ukuthi in their vulnerability, uNkulunkulu still sees them, just like Haggai, ukuthi uNkulunkulu still sees them and ngeke abayeke nje ukuthi abayeke ehlane or in their vulnerable states, but He will ensure ukuthi He takes them out of that vulnerable state as well. So you are a point of reference for other people as well ukuthi your story won't end lana ukubi khona kodwa you will actually get to a place where uNkulunkulu is now allowing you to experience a season of joy as well. So just want to emphasize lana ukuthi for you undergoing that season of crushing, you are a point of reference for abanye abantu as well. And then verse 15 says, For 7 days you shall keep a solemn feast to the Lord your God in the place where the Lord chooses, because the Lord your God will bless you in all your produce and in all the works of your hands, so that you will all together be joyful. So it's just emphasizing Nalanuguti. That season of crushing was necessary because it is one of the things that are going to equip you to be able um to receive isibusiso through the works of your hands, because I believe ukuthi isitha siyakwazi ukuqalekisa izandla zomuntu ukuthi konke akwenzayo kuyafadalala, or all the works of his hands don't bear fruit and he's not able to experience the harvest of ukusebenza kwakhe. So I believe ukuthi uNkulunkulu is also teaching us and reminding us ukuthi that crushing season that you undergo as an individual, it is necessary because it's one of the ways that God can have reason to release that season of joy, firstly. Secondly, also to bless the works of your hands. Ukuthi konke okuthintayo kubusiseke, even the relationships that you go into ayabusiseka automatically by the mere fact that lo muntu usuke engene into fellowship with you as an individual. And I believe ukuthi most one of my testimonies as well, ukuthi nje even though ngingakwazi ukwenza izinto ezithile for the people that I love, but uNkulunkulu has given me the grace ukuthi abantu who come in close proximity with me bayakwazi ukubusiseka indirectly, even though ngingenawo amandla okubayenzela izinto that I want to do for them. So quite local, it's just something that's encouraging me as well. Even the works of my hands through the relationships that I've gathered over the years, or abantu that I encounter along the way, ukuthi uNkulunkulu uyakwazi ukubabusisa ngendlela ezihlukile even though nami kubuye kungikhathaze vele ukuthi I don't have the capacity to show up ngendlela lo muntu esuke efise ngishow up ngayo. I'm really sorry that I'm crying throughout this, but yeah, I'm just gonna repeat verse 15. It says, "For 7 days you shall keep a solemn feast to the Lord your God in the place which the Lord chooses, because the Lord your God will bless you in all your produce and all the works of your hands, so that you will be altogether joyful." So I'm gonna repeat verse 16. It says, 3 times a year shall all your males appear before the Lord your God in the place which he chooses, at the feast of unleavened bread, at the feast of weeks, and at the feast of tabernacles or booths. They shall not appear before the Lord empty handed. Verse 17 says, "Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of the Lord your God, which he has given you. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of the Lord your God, which he has given you." So verse 17 here, I think it is straightforward. ukuthi uNkulunkulu is also encouraging us esibona ukuthi asinawo amandla to show up for the people that we have in our lives ngendlela esifisa ngayo, ukuthi lokho okuncane okwazi ukwenza for the next person, do that very thing, because that is how you also be blessed as an individual. I think njengoba kade ngisho nje ukuthi for a long time I couldn't show up for the people kade ngifisa ukushow up for them in their lives because of certain elements kade yenzeka empilweni yami, so I couldn't show up. So uNkulunkulu is also just encouraging us ukuthi with the little that you have, use it to to show up for abantu, and that is how you are able to become a blessing in their lives. So the little that you have, don't take it lightly, but rather use it to serve uNkulunkulu or to serve abantwana bakhe. So I'm just gonna go to my notes right now. I don't have a lot of notes per se. I just have scriptures that I've noted down that I want us to read. So I'm gonna read the numerous scriptures in relation to the verses that we just read. So the first point that I wanted to highlight is us rejoicing at the feast the Father has prepared with our children, servants, strangers, as well as the vulnerable people. I have touched on this briefly. In relation to this scripture, I'm gonna read the book of Matthew, chapter 22, verse 1 up to verse 14, and I'll also read, and it reads as follows. "And again Jesus spoke to them in parables, comparisons, stories, and used to illustrate and explain, saying, The kingdom of heaven is like a king who gave a wedding banquet for his son. He sent his servants to summon those who had been invited to the wedding banquet, but they refused to come. The kingdom of heaven is like a king who gave a wedding banquet for his son, and he sent his servants to summon those who had been invited to the wedding banquet, but they refused to come." I think the 3 verses that I just read, the idea that is posed in my heart, Guti, once you have tapped into the season of feasting in a season of joy, or like a, how can I name this or title this, like, how can I title the season? I'll just title it the Feast of Joy. So once you are experiencing the season of joy, the people that know you and know what you are going through in a season of darkness or a season of being in the valley, kukhona abantu who will not rejoice with you, that you are anticipating ukuthi they should be rejoicing with you. So it's just something that will occur as well, that when you're tapping into the season of feasting in the joy of the Lord, and encountering injabulo ejulile that is birthed out of a place of you having undergone the crashing season, ukuthi uNkulunkulu is emphasizing ukuthi not all people will rejoice. There are certain people that you anticipated ukuthi they would rejoice with you, but they won't actually rejoice with you. So verse 3 had said, "And he sent his servants to summon those who had been invited to the wedding banquet, but they refused to come. Again he sent other servants, saying, Tell those who are invited, Behold, I have prepared my banquet, my bullocks and my fat cows are killed, and everything is prepared. Come to the wedding feast." But they were not concerned and paid no attention. They ignored and made light of the summons, treating it with contempt, and they went away, one to his farm, another to his business, while the others seized his servants, treated them shamefully, and put them to death. While the others seized his servants, treated them shamefully, and put them to death. Hearing this, the king was infuriated. he sent his soldiers and put those murderers to death and burnt their city. So the scripture that is just encouraging Gumina right now that I just read is the part where it's speaking about how it infuriates Unkulunkul when he has taken a person out of a dark pit or a dark season or out of the season of crushing, and he's now exalting him to a certain extent. Ukuthi labo bantu who are refusing to play the role in the celebration that he has prepared, ukuthi uNkulunkulu, it infuriates him as well, which they're not stepping up to celebrate with labo bantu that God is giving them the advantage or the grace or the gift of the feast of joy. So even you as an individual, when you see other people winning in their lives, uNkulunkulu is also rebuking us or teaching us ukuthi when we see other people going into a place where they are now in a season of celebration, rejoice with them with your whole heart, and ukwenza from ekujuleni kwenhliziyweni yakho, because it infuriates uNkulunkulu when the people who are assigned to celebrate with abanye abantu refuse to partake in the celebration that God has created, because God is the one who is the creator of that season of joy as well. Verse 7 says, hearing this, the king was infuriated, and he sent his soldiers and put those murderers to death and burnt their cities. Then he said to his servants, the wedding feast is prepared, but those invited were not worthy. So go to the thoroughfares where they leave the city, where the main roads, and those from the country end, and invite to the wedding feast as many as you find. And those servants went out on the crossroads and got together as many as they found, both bad and good. So the room in which the wedding feast was held was filled with guests. But when the king came to view the guests, he looked intently at a man who had no wedding garments, and he said, friend, how did you come in here without putting on the appropriate wedding garment? And he was speechless, muzzled, and gagged. So he had just emphasizing as well, Uti uNkulunkulu will also allow other people to celebrate with you that were not necessarily or initially in your mind, or to partake in the feast that God has created for you or prepared for you to partake in. So even though uNkulunkulu had initially assigned particular people to celebrate with you, but you won't go through that process of celebration alone. There will be other people that God will allow to also celebrate, even though they're ill prepared to partake in that celebration with you. Verse 13 says, the king said to the attendants, tie him hand and foot and throw him into the darkness outside where there's the weeping and grinding of teeth. I don't think that verse is necessary for what I wanted us to just emphasize on. I think I'm going to stop there for today because I'm seeing teeth, because I got a bit emotional. I said, so I'm just going to stop there for today, and I hope that you guys did enjoy today's session, and I'll see you guys in our follow-up session, and God bless.